Hello everybody. So today is going to be an amazing full haircut tutorial, and I think you're really going to like this because we're creating kind of a, I wouldn't say medium length, but definitely not a traditional shorter haircut. So as you can see, even with this, we're going to be cutting off some length, but we're also going to be leaving some length throughout the back and kind of creating that like older, like Batman, Christian Bale type of haircut, or just one of those like kind of like shorter to almost medium length cuts that still has like some length, but it's not super short. There's going to be no clippers. So what I'm doing now is I'm point cutting into the base of the haircut, right? And I'm just creating my foundation. The foundation, aka the length of the hair, is really important because we are going to be cutting the front a bit shorter, and you have to be able to feel comfortable with cutting some hair off. And you can see in the corner area, I'm cutting quite a bit off, but I'm also point cutting into it just to create a little bit of a softer textured edge, because I want this haircut to obviously be on the shorter side from compared to this, but also have a good amount of texture to it. So now we're working above the ear area, and once again, the shape is going shorter to longer. So it's really important that, you know, maybe when you're getting your haircut, or even if you're doing haircuts, that you establish this right from the beginning. And you can see here I'm shifting where I'm taking quite a bit of hair off compared to like this area. And it's going to look a lot longer in the back because that's where we're leaving some of the length. But when we cut the layers, we're actually going to go in and blend everything and connect. Again, this is just the foundation of the house. This is what's going to make it secure and strong. And this is what's needed. If you don't have a secure foundation for your haircut, it's not going to look right. So as you can see right in the front, once again, point cutting to create more of a softer textured edge. And I'm pulling, and you see what happens. The hair will spring back. So it's really important, especially if you want to leave a little bit of length to your hair, that you don't cut the front too short. It's very tempting to just pull it down and cut it shorter, but the hair will spring back up because of it. Now, I did the same thing on the other side, and we just continued everything to create a somewhat balanced shape. Now, you could probably say to yourself, this alone is a haircut. Like, I could literally wear this as a haircut. It looks pretty amazing, but we still have a long way to go. And as you can see through here, we still have to layer. And look at all that hair hanging down in the back. And once again, I apologize for having a black shirt. I'm always wearing dark colors, but right now what I'm doing is I'm cutting vertically, going towards the face to create the roundness of the head. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of showing you an example of how long the layers are. I would say probably about 4.5 to 5 inches, maybe the most. But the shorter the layers, the more volume it's going to have. But you also have to keep in mind that the layers need to be balanced as far as lengthwise. It needs to kind of match up to the front of the hair. If anything, be a little bit longer. Because towards the back, it's okay to have the hair just slightly longer. And that's what gives it that appearance of having the hair looking longer, because technically we are leaving length. We're just going short. We're starting off shorter in the front, and it gradually gets longer in the back. But as you can see, I went from that very top section of the back all the way down to the bottom. If you're getting your haircut and you go home, or you like 2 weeks later, you wonder why your hair is so heavy at the bottom area, it's got no movement. It's simply because the person who cut your hair did not blend it all the way down like I'm doing here, all the way down to the very bottom. If they don't do that, your hair is going to, see all that hair that's coming off? Your hair is going to be very heavy. And I like to work in panels just to make sure before you leave, if you're somebody who's interested in, and you want to have a lot of weight taken out in the back, then you're going to need to make sure that you run your hands through the back of your hair like this and feel for it. If you run your hands to back there and you lift the hair out and you're like, oh wow, okay, this is still really heavy, and you can actually pull out and show the person cutting your hair, saying, look at how long this hair is in the bottom. That person either needs to go back to beauty school, they learn how to cut hair properly, or they have to cut that off, because them not doing that is simply just them skimping out on doing it, being lazy, or not even having the knowledge to do it, to be honest with you. So, all right, now what we're doing is we're working into the sides. You can see this is where I mentioned a lot of that hair is going to come off, because now we're connecting and blending, and it's okay to cut that hair off in here. You actually need to cut it off. If you don't, if you leave all that hair longer, it's just going to look awful. It's not going to connect. The layers will not look proper. It's going to grow out really awkwardly. Just make sure when you're getting your haircut, the person who's doing it is very, very thorough. That's the difference between a, say, $100-something haircut compared to a $5 haircut. Who's someone who's spending 15 minutes on your hair, compared to someone like myself who would spend an hour at least on your hair. The difference is that it's going to show the way the hair grows out, the way it looks, the way it falls instantly, the way you style it, the manageability. It's a night and day difference when you have someone who actually puts this type of effort into your haircut. Is this something I would suggest going to a barber for? Probably not. I mean, yes, I'm sure you can find people out there who could do this type of work. However, it's like when you think of the word skin fade or bald fade, you're not thinking of a hairstylist right away. You're thinking of a barber. Same thing when it comes to layers. Unless that person has, images of their work, of their haircuts like this, they understand hair cutting, and it's not something they just picked up like last week because it looked cool, then go to them and feel comfortable. Just find the right person for the job. That's what it comes down to. So now what I'm doing, I'm holding everything out horizontally and cutting, because this creates a little more of a flip type texture. It allows the hair to have more movement, and it also removes a lot of weight when you're cutting it both vertically and horizontally. And I apologize for the elbow in the face. This is not WWE. I'm not trying to elbow you off the top rope. I apologize once again. We're trying to get that camera angle is crucial. But here we go. So you can see, now this is the body position that a lot of people put themselves in. And I'm just doing this so you can see, but this is what actually creates a lot of back pain and issues, is when you throw your shoulder over. Where I was before with the elbow in the face, or like this, it actually keeps you in a very good position for your body, right? You don't want to be putting yourself in awkward angles, because trust me, you will have issues. So now what we're doing is just connecting everything, and here we go once again with the heart. Now look, there's a lot of hair that I'm cutting off, and it's totally cool to cut extra hair off if need be. If you're going through the haircut and you're like, man, look at all that hair, I gotta chop this off. As long as it works into the shape and it's something that is absolutely necessary because it's just not laying properly, it's too long still, there's no issue whatsoever, because it's better to have the hair longer than cut off too much. So now what I'm doing is I'm going into the top and making sure that all this is connected, and I'm probably just taking it just slightly shorter throughout the front here. And yes, the top is crucial, because the way I cut hair is based off of the top, or the center of the top of the head, then the corners, and then the sides. I usually work from the top down, but sometimes it just depends on what mood you're in. But what's going to happen when you get to the front is, you can see I'm kind of over-directing slightly back a little bit, because we want to preserve that length. Now, it's not fully done, because like I mentioned before, like to be very, very thorough with my haircuts. So I'm going to comb this all the way down. There's my guide. And look, I'm cutting even more hair off now, because it needs it. I'm not afraid to cut more hair, and don't be afraid if you're getting your haircut at a salon or something, or barbershop, whatever, and it's not the style you're looking for. The worst scenario is some guy spends 45 minutes, or some stylist spends 45 minutes cutting all your hair. The worst thing you can do at the very end is go, oh wait, are we going shorter? That's like the worst thing we can hear as a professional, because guess what? We now have to spend another hour recutting the entire damn head. So it's crucial that you mention this early on in the haircut, because if you don't, we are not going to be happy professionals. Trust me on that one. It's happened numerous times, and a lot of it has to do with consultation, where they're like, oh, I don't want to go too short. I want to leave a lot of length. And then all of a sudden you cut it and you're like, then they're like, oh, aren't we going shorter? It's like, well, that's not what we discussed. That's not what you told me. So what you just witnessed there was me actually cutting everything vertically, pulling it all straight up in the head, from the head, to make sure that it's all balanced. Now let's zoom in a little closer, and I'm going to use the feather razor. And this is a great professional tool to, you see I'm notching into it to just remove a lot of the excess weight. Great for somebody who wants to have a lot of movement. They still want to have some length, but they just don't want it to be, all one big heavy piece of hair on their head. This is great for just adding that movement and that volume and that texture. Even if you don't want volume, it just creates a really, really cool look, because you can mess the hair up and it's actually going to have some great shape to it. It's also going to grow out really well. So you could spray 25 spray, which I highly suggest. You could spray Tidal Wave, which is a great pre-styler to start getting that volume in the hair, which is great, especially for wavy hair. But if you're looking for volume and you want that support, Tidal Wave is definitely a must, okay? So now I'm going in with the thinning shears, and I'm doing more chopping and more texturizing. I know you're probably going, this is crazy. If you have really, 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 really thick hair, then this is going to be great. This is going to be great for you. Don't do this on curly hair. Don't use a razor on super curly hair. This hairstyle is definitely designed for someone who has, I would say, pin straight to slightly wavy hair, but definitely on the thick side. And if you're somebody who just really has a lot of hair to work with, you love the texture, you love all, then you see I'm going nuts with this. I am literally going to town. I'm going nuts. I'm really just removing tons and tons of weight, because this is what's going to allow the hair to have a lot more freedom and flexibility, okay? Now, as far as like styling it, if you use Tidal Wave, the Tidal Wave spray is actually going to give it so much texture right from the beginning that you may not even need another product. All right, but this is something that I would not use a hair gel. My crafted matte pomade would work great if you're trying to slick this back a bit and have it more of like a lived-in look. I would say Shadow, my product Shadow, is probably the best product for this, simply because you can see I'm getting instant results. I'm able to work the product through. There's no grip, no stickiness. And that's what you want for a hairstyle like this. You want to have it kind of lived in. Think of like, this is kind of like the Last of Us haircut, maybe like Joel or character from like a movie, an action movie, Tom Cruise, like I said, Batman. This is something where you want to have it looking very lived in. And if you don't use a product that's going to do that, then it's not really going to, enhance the shape. Also, you can see the textures coming out now. It's really starting to show. And again, this is a very, very advanced haircut. I know it looks simple, but I'm going to spin this around. You can see the length. Look at all the layers in there. It's fairly short in that area, but it's all because I removed the weight. Really, really great look. Don't forget, use code YouTube20. That's code YouTube20 at shop.thesalonguy.com. I've got my blow dryer. I've got all my products. Everything you need is on the website. I really hope you enjoy this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.